from my brother George Lewis, which I'm very excited about George being here. And we're very, very blessed to have George here. That's why I said, we're missing out. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about George. Now, George is a Oakwood University alum. And George also has his MBA. George also is a CPA, Certified Public Accountant. George was responsible for building the first proton therapy center in San Diego, California. George is a board trustee for the Regional Conference Retirement Fund. That's the retirement fund for the brothers, okay, for Seventh-day Adventists. George also worked at Loma Linda. Now, George, you were a conference treasurer at one point. Yes, he was for Seventh-day Adventist Conference out west. George is the former president of Kettering Health Medical Group. So he was over all the physicians at Kettering Health, and he was an executive vice president at Kettering Health. George was also named a top 50 healthcare executive by Becker's Review. And what does that mean? Becker's Review is a national publication that all healthcare executives read across the entire United States, and George was named a top 50 healthcare executive in the country. George is also the architect of the Years Ahead program at Kettering Health, where you see those buildings, Years Ahead. Also, on-demand care, which is one of my favorite, because on-demand care, that's where you don't go to the emergency room, you don't go to urgent care, but you can get an appointment anytime you just go in, and it's just awesome. I've used it several times. Very, very helpful. So, George, thank you for being here, brother. And the floor is yours. And then we'll have some time to answer questions and things like that. Please feel free to ask. And we'll have a good old time learning about money.
Is it on? Thank all of you for coming.
Okay.
I haven't done one of these seminars in a while, financial seminars. So let me move along. A little bit about the agenda. First, a little bit about me. Then we're going to talk about the foundation of any retirement plan. Make sure we got good roots. Income statement versus balance sheet, asset diversification, investment income sources, and a summary. So we won't take a long time, and feel free to stop me anytime if you have questions. We can make it interactive, it's all good. Make sure you're getting out of this what you hope to, and it's all fun for me, so don't worry about stopping me. A little bit about me, I'm a motorcycle rider. This is what you do when you retire. I have recently semi-retired. So now I ride motorcycles across the country, and I actually go to states that I don't normally visit. States that, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana. Last year, this was actually in Montana. And last year we went almost 6,800 miles just across the country. It's a great way to see the United States. It's a little dangerous, but you kind of forget about that. You just go. As Keith said, I was once a conference treasurer. Southwest Region Conference. And from there, I went to Southeastern California Conference, where I was under treasurer for the conference. It's the largest conference in our denomination. And I was under treasurer for the conference and treasurer for the association. And the reason I say that, because as treasurer of the association, all the assets are in the association. Southeastern California, they had a string of apartment complexes up and down San Diego through LA, 35 apartment complexes. And I think I was 24 years old. I got to manage all this real estate at a very young age. And that's when I started to really understand investments. that difference between accounting, operating. From there, I went on to Merrill Lynch, worked there for 7, 8 years as a bond trader, and really started to understand finance. And now, I grew up in Chicago, Chicago project. I was poor and understood money differently than the way I understand it today. You know, being in that arena where I was managing things, you learn things along the way, understand how to amass wealth, how to gain wealth, how to manage different things, how to let money work for you so you're not working so hard for it, how to prepare yourselves for the day that you need to live off your money. Okay, so the foundation for any retirement plan is a good plan. Determining your personal financial goals for retirement, an important step to planning. As situations change, evaluate, adjust, reevaluate, and align your plans with today's economic climate. So it starts with, what do you want? What would you like your retirement to be? And it's okay to have a wish list. You know, this is what I want in retirement. This is, and you know, just put it out there for what it's worth. And it's better, I would say, to write it down. Once you write something down, it becomes a possibility, it becomes real. And not only writing it down, sometimes you want to even say it out loud. Because sometimes you'll think something, you'll run with it, you'll write it down, and then you'll hear it someplace out loud, and you're like, maybe that idea wasn't as good as I thought when it was just in my mind. So you say it out loud. Even if you're talking to a friend, talking to yourself, write down what your goals are, and then say it out loud. That helps make it real. Paid off the home by age 60. I would think most people in retirement, you don't want to have mortgage paid. So is that fair? I would think that would hit high on most people's list. You want the house to be paid off. No revolving debt. You don't want a lot of credit card debt. You don't want a lot of, because your money's going to change. Your money's going to stop. So you want that gone, and maybe, I say 60, maybe your age is 70, maybe it's 50. But write it down early, because it's not going to just happen on its own. Multiple income streams after retirement. You know, you guys know that Social Security, in and of itself, for most of us, is less than what we're making today. So your Social Security income all by itself is probably not enough. So how are you going to have other income streams? What else are you going to depend on? Something to think about. Second home in a warm climate, that might be something you're interested in. Amen. Funded HSA, health spending account. You know, they say only thing sure in life is death and taxes. At some point, if you live long enough, you're going to have some health challenges. You may end up needing additional dollars for assistance. You're probably looking, a lot of your parents are probably looking at that now. That should be planned long before retirement. You got to start that early because you got to put that money aside. So, aging parents fund. If you're like me, my parents right now, my mom's in her 80s, she's slowing down, she's struggling, she needs some help. You might think about, what are you going to set money aside for that? This might hit your list. Ability to travel around the world. Some of us are world travelers. What do you want to do when you retire? I would say write it down in spite of your age. And you can't do this early enough. And some people say, you know, you should start planning your retirement when you turn 50. Ooh, 50, you should start before then, because the longer you plan, the more you do, easier it gets. Generational savings left to loved ones. Now, when I grew up, there was no such thing as generational wealth. That was pretty much our wealth. You know, let's eat this week, let's pay the rent next week, let's get the gas in the car. Generational wealth didn't hit high on the list. So, but some people, you know, it's a possibility. And I say all of that to say, truth be told, if you start planning your retirement early enough, even with what you're doing, all of this is more obtainable, more achievable than you know, just by making your day-to-day decisions a little different. And you know, everything takes a little bit of discipline, a little bit of sacrifice, but a small adjustment here or there can make all the difference in everything on this list. Anybody making a list on what they want their retirement to look like when that day comes? Have all of you done that? These are the things I want. This is my list. These are all the things that you want. The truth is, I have more on there than that. But that's where it starts. Make the list, say it out loud, refer to it twice a year, make sure you're online with it. Okay, so how do you make this happen? Income statement versus balance sheet. I'm a big balance sheet accountant. At heart, I'm an accountant, but most accountants are income statement accountants. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to spend some time on this because if you take nothing else away from this, I want you to understand what I mean by income statement versus balance sheet. Income statement, that's what most of us do. How much you earn, what your job is paying you, what comes in, and what you spend. You can put right at the top, I get this much money every 2 weeks. I make this much a month. This is what I bring home. And from that, I have to pay my expenses. I got to pay for my rent. I got to pay for my home. I got to pay for my car. I got to do this, child support, whatever it is, your list. And hopefully, you try to hope the income exceeds the income exceeds expenses. And if it doesn't, you're making adjustments, right? Or you're borrowing money, or you're going to your credit cards. But most of us are very, very intimate with our income statement. Is that fair to say? And stop me if I'm saying something that's just crazy, if I'm out of touch. But I would think most of us, we know how much we're going to make, and we've been doing this probably since we were in high school, and you had a job. Right. Even when you're living with your parents, I make $200, I can spend $150, I can spend $200. I make $2,000, I can spend $2,000. That's what check to check. 80% of Americans live check to check. Percentage is even higher among our black community. So and society pushes us this way. Have you noticed that? You know, I was in Spectrum the other day. I was looking for an iPhone. And I walking through, and everything says $4 a month, $6 a month, $10 a month, $30 a month. And I asked the vendor, I said, well, how much is the phone? He's like, well, I don't know. It's $10 a month. I said, what about the iPad? The iPad, that's $28 a month. I said, how much is the iPad? Well, I don't know. Well, how am I going to buy something you don't know how much it is? Why? And you know how many people walk in there, actually buy the iPhone, don't know how much it is? How many have bought a car like that? As soon as you walk on a lot, the car dealer says, I can get you in this car for $300 a month. $300 a month. Now, that could be 50 years. But I can get you in there for $300 a month. If you follow the politics here recently, Trump has put out a 50-year mortgage. Yeah. How many are trusting that? Mercy. Mercy. You know, our society has conditioned us to live within our means, but live off the income statement. I'll tell you a secret about the income statement. Income statements are for today. Retirement is off the balance sheet. When you retire, income's gone. And now you have to live off what you've earned. So if you never paid attention to your balance sheet all of those years, and you paid attention to your income statement, and suddenly your income stops, so all you have is Social Security, then you haven't planned. You follow me on that? If you only pay attention, and I'm talking about, and you know, I'm not trying to beat you up here. I'm talking about most of us. Income statement every day. As for today. And as long as I can make it work, I'm good. My mom, when I was a kid, we would go Christmas shopping end of the year. And boy, that was our time. We could get what we wanted. And she was like, you know, as long as the credit card companies let me have it, go ahead and get it. And she would kind of free up her credit cards for that one time a year, and you know, it was 3 of us, so we were in heaven. You know, we can get whatever toy we wanted during that time. And she would max out her credit cards, and she was okay with that. We were okay with it. Everybody was happy. Christmas, birthdays, we had a good time. But she was doing income statement accounting. You know, we rented our place. We had us one bedroom there in Chicago, and we rented it, and everything was month to month, day to day. I spoke of her earlier. Right now, my mom's 80. She's retired. She has Social Security, and I take care of her because her Social Security, that month to month, will not sustain her lifestyle in her retirement. And she don't even want much. You know, she wants to go out and eat every now and then, go on a vacation every now, come see me. I mean, she's not doing a whole lot. But her Social Security, and she worked, 50 years as a nurse's aide. And those 50 years did not get her a comfortable, didn't even get her a decent retirement. You know, they got something they call defined benefit plan, defined contribution plan, pension plans. I'll tell you when this changed. Pension plans used to be, especially here in the Midwest, were big. And very few of us have pension plans. Some of you may. If you do, God bless you, because the country as a whole has determined that pension plans are too expensive. So they've gotten rid of them. And they shifted them to these things they call 401k, 403b. That's a defined contribution plan. And it could run out, not vested well, not getting enough in it, So that pension plan, which the conferences today, and I believe me,
why you think I'm here?
The pension plans are far and in between. They're far and few. State of California recently called bankruptcy because they couldn't afford the pension plan for the teachers and the fire workers and you know, all the service workers. So they gotten rid of them. Very few of them last. And here in the Midwest, where you had GE and GM Motors, NCR, this was a big pension plan state. So some of you may have those pension plans, and praise the Lord, because they're few and far between. Thank you. So if you have a pension plan, you could continue on the income statement approach, because they will give you these annual bumps and kind of keep up with inflation. You'll still get that money. You throw in some Social Security, you're probably okay. My mom doesn't have a pension. 90% of us don't have a pension. So we're left to the only last pension is Social Security, and if you notice, it's under attack. They're trying their best to nickel and dime it. They're gonna get rid of that. So they're gonna reduce it, and it's not adequate anyway. Because again, my mom worked 50 years, lives by herself in Chicago, and they're lavish, and she can't make ends meet. So what's the answer? Balance sheet. But, you know, like the income statement, your revenue that comes in minus that you spend. You can manage that month to month. At the end of the month, what you have left, you have left. You're a little short, you do a little credit card, you run to the currency exchange, you figure it out. Balance sheet is everything you own, minus everything you owe. At the end of every year, while you're intimate with that income statement, if you were intimate with the balance sheet, you would see that every year it goes up. People that plan, their balance sheet goes up even in bad years. Even in years they don't make any money. You hear that Trump doesn't pay taxes. We don't pay taxes because he doesn't record any income, because he borrows money from his balance sheet to pay himself, and borrowed money is not taxed. It's not that hard. That's how it works.
Wait a minute, say it again.
Borrowed money, if your balance sheet is strong, everything you own, property, cars, retirement, less everything you owe. Mortgage, car loan, student loans. What's left is what you own. If that number grows year after year, year after year, you get to 7 figures, you can borrow against it, and you don't, equity. That's why he doesn't pay taxes, because he doesn't earn an income. He just borrows money from himself. That's why that's how they get around it. And then all the real estate they have, there's so many loopholes as you have a strong balance sheet. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I want you to, if you take nothing away from here, I want you to understand how to calculate your personal balance sheet, because I want you to do it at least twice a year. I'd love it if you were as intimate with it as you are with your income statement. I bet everybody in here knows how much money they make every month. I bet everybody in here knows how much their expenses are every month. How many people know what the net worth is? How many people know what the balance sheet assets are? Okay. How do you do that? Now, truth is, this is why people don't do it, because it can be incredibly complex. Or it could be back of the napkin, just like your income statement. You can do this in your head. You can do it. God, I've been doing it so long, I'm kind of obsessed. You can do this on a regular basis. You should do it regularly, because every year your balance sheet should go up. As a student, just coming out of college, when you have student loans, when you really don't have any assets, your balance sheet's going to be upside down. You're going to owe more than you own. But if you make good decisions along the way, you'll see that shift. And as that shift occurs, now you're getting into wealth. And truth is, it doesn't mean that you have to make a ton of money. It means you have to make good decisions. I'll tell you something about people that pay attention to their balance sheet. They make better decisions. See, I know how much the iPhone is, because it goes right to that's money that I would owe if I were to go on the monthly. You know, I get it, it's $1,500 phone. I'm paying $40 a month. That means on my balance sheet, I have a $1,500 debt. It's not going to show on my income statement. It's going to show on the balance sheet. So if I see it on, I'm like, okay, I don't know. Maybe I can't get this phone. Maybe it's not a good time for me. And I use the phone just as an example. But that's true for every purchase. If you understand your balance sheet, you'll make better decisions. You know, when you walk on that car lot, and that guy said, I can get you in this car for $300 a month. Well, how much is the car? You know, when you go in and try to buy a home, and so I can get you in this home for $1,400. Well, how much is the house? How long am I paying? What does that loan look like? What does that look like on my balance sheet? So, real quick, if you got a piece of paper, you write it down. What do I own? Everything I own. I have a home. I have a retirement retirement fund. I have cars. I have property, I have furniture, everything. And you can estimate, you can ballpark it. So everything I own is worth X dollars. Okay, what do I owe on it? Not the monthly payment, the total. If you have a house and, you know, what is it? You got these different, Zillow will tell you what your house is worth. Zillow says your house is worth $150,000. Okay, what's your bank statement say you owe on that house? Oh, 75, your equity on that house is $75,000. Think about that. So, every year, at least, and I'm being kind, at least twice a year. And if you can become intimate with your balance sheet, as intimate as you are with your income statement, I promise you, you will have wealth. I can guarantee it. Because your decisions will then be different. And you won't deprive yourself of things, you'll do them differently. See, once you have a strong balance sheet, the banks love you. They throw money at you then. You know, that once you have a strong balance sheet, once you have a net worth that's to everyone's life, to where you're comfortable. You know, so when you stop working, let's say you stop working 5 years from now, but your balance sheet is strong. You know, your stocks are still working, your property is still going up, your values overall, your debt is gone. Your balance sheet, you can pull off of it and it still goes up. So every year you're actually okay. And I'm gonna try to be careful how I say things. As black people, we don't do this because our parents, and I think the world of my mom, she didn't teach me this because she didn't know. You know? She didn't know. If I don't teach this to my kid, then she won't know. Most of us came from families Well, they gave you a roof over your head, they put food on the table, they educated you, they sent you to school, they did right by you, but they didn't teach you how to amass wealth. That's the difference. Balance sheet is for wealth, income statement is for today. Today, one day will go away. One day, that job that you have, that month to month, that income statement, what if it's gone? What if there's a layoff? What if something happens? What are you going to live off of? Can you live off your balance sheet? If you don't even know what it is, probably not going to live off of it. Probably not contributing to improving it. Balance sheet. Wealth is earned on the balance sheet. This is, and it's not just for the rich. They've led us to believe that, but it's not. I've lived in the Midwest now I grew up here in Chicago, went to California for a number of years, been back here now about 14 years. The Midwest is probably more citizen-friendly than either of the coasts. California and New York, it's hard to acquire wealth there. It's easier here because you have so many communities where housing is affordable. It's affordable, and that's where it starts. Let's move on. I could show you how to do this. I would encourage that you do back of the napkin balance sheets. If you're struggling with how to do that, because sometimes they make it so complex because there's so many things you can put in there, but it really doesn't have to be complex. You can make your income statement complex, but you're good with that. You can make your balance sheet simple to where you feel like you're intimate with it. Asset diversification. Yeah, real estate climate where you live. Midwest. Truth is there's if you're working with an income, you should, to rent is missing an opportunity. Your largest expense is housing. I would say that's true for 95% of us. You have to live somewhere. That being said, invest in yourself. That's where you're saving. That's a great place to go. I tell this to everybody I talk to, and I promise you nobody does it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My family included. When you buy a house and they start talking fast and you find something you like, average time spent in a home in our country for Americans, about 7.5 years. Do y'all know that? 7.5 years is typical time spent in a home. If you buy a home and you get a 15-year mortgage, that house is 50% paid off in 7 years. If you get a 30-year mortgage, it's 10% paid off. If you get a 40 and 50-year mortgage, you ain't paying nothing but interest. And you're still living in that house, you just don't own it. If you get a 15-year mortgage, it's going to cost you some extra money. But if your income is still going up and you're investing, if you look at it, I'm investing in myself. I got to live somewhere. Put that money in that home, intend to pay that house off. Even if you left after 7.5 years, now you could either probably rent it out for what the costs are. Before long, you got real estate. If you're a pastor and you move around a lot, which early in my career I had real estate all over the country. Because every time I moved, I just bought and I kept it, and 15 years and I went, it works. And whereas you're paying a little bit more a month, think about what you would do with that money anyway. You would go get Starbucks every day. Invest in yourself. Invest in your future. That's an easy way for someone that grew up poor to start amassing wealth. Now, if you're 20 years old, 7 years sounds like a long time. If you're 50, 7 years ain't that bad. 7 years ain't that long. You get yourself a $200,000 house, 7 years into it, $100,000 is your money in your pocket, goes right to your balance sheet. Now the bank likes you. If you get a 30-year, 10% maybe that's equity in that house. If it doesn't appreciate at all, and assume it's not, you just paid rent. So think about that. Again, if you understand your balance sheet, you'll make different decisions. You'll be better off. What's the next one? Stock market climate and opportunity. This one's a little tricky. You got to understand what's going on in the economy, and you got to give yourself a chance to win the lottery. A lot of people play the lottery. I tell you, the real lottery is the stock market. It's pretty steady. If you had put $1,000 in Apple 20 years ago, it'd be worth $130,000 today, 20 years ago. Let me tell you how you can do that. How many of you had jobs where you had an HSA? Now that's money for your health insurance, for your health care. And what they tell you, if you spend it on health-related expenses, you don't pay taxes on it. So what you do, a lot of people, you grab that money, and if you need to go to the urgent care, or if you need some kind of prescription, you use it for that. I would encourage that you take that money and you forget it's a benefit, because you don't have it as part of your income, because you didn't expect to get it. It's a benefit. You put that money right into the stock market every pay period, which could come to $70, $80. At the end of 20 years, when you need money for your health care as you get older, you'll have an HSA account worth 6 figures. It's the easiest 6 figures you ever get in your life. You know how hard it is to save $130,000? But they're giving you that money right now. Think about it. That HSA money, they give it to you. You can do as you will with it. Put it in that account. You never pay taxes on it until you need it. And one day, trust me, you'll need it. And even if you don't, and it just sits there, balance sheet's looking pretty good. You follow me on that? That's an easy. If you'd have bought Apple with your HSA 20 years ago, it'd be worth $100,000+ today. How many of us are surprised by the fact that Apple's doing well? Exactly. Nothing shocking about Apple, Google, Walmart, Costco. We all say of money they're giving you, as long as you don't push it to your operating and say, okay, I'm going to spend it every month when I need health care. No. If you put it there and just let it sit, 20 years down the road, you don't have to worry about your health care. Is that hard? That money's already yours. That's how you let your money work for you. That's money, you weren't planning on it. That's great, a job, great for you. What's the next one? Risk and reward tolerance. You have to understand what you're risking at all times, so you're not making bad decisions. And again, it all rolls back to your knowledge and your intimacy with your balance sheet. Then you know what you're risking. When you walk in there, they say that phone is $4 a month. Well, how much is it really? The risk is that phone's $1,500, and you're going to be paying the rest of your life. Understand it. And I'm not saying it's not a good decision, especially when it comes to the phone, so don't take me wrong. That's just one of the examples. Just watch. Every time you get something, they give you a quote, and the quote is right to the income statement. If you can make it a balance sheet item, if you understand the difference between the two statements and how to shift it over there, you'll make a better decision. You'll have wealth before you know it. Who's in government? It does make a difference. It does. Yeah, Republicans are better for some things. Democrats are better for others. Align with what they're doing. Just know it as you're making your decision. Interest rates are down. About 4 or 5 years ago, right at COVID, interest rates dropped to 2%. Boy, 2%. At 2%, everybody should get 15-year loans, because the payment won't change. At 2%, how many people did that, though? At 2%, go back and refinance that 30-year mortgage to 15, that payment's not going to move at all. And look up 7 years down the road, that house is halfway paid for. I didn't think we'd ever see 2%, Probably will never see it again. But when it came, who cares who's in office? Did you take advantage of it? Are you looking at your balance sheet, or are you just looking at your income statement and saying, I'm comfortable with my payment? See the difference? Same money. Same money. 2% loans. How many of you did that? See, think about it. That's the difference. And that's not you making more money. That's just you making a better decision. And the bank, they're quick to find. They know what you're doing. They say, oh, you got $100,000 of equity in your house. Now they're sending you the little, come and get this HELOC loan crap, trying to get you to borrow more, trying to get their rates up. That 2% was killing them, but we should have been, the way you treat that, the way you treat your HSA. These are everyday things. I'm not even talking rich people. These are things that you're doing each and every, right now. A different decision gets you a different result. What else we got? What's hot and taking? What if you had to invest in something today? What's Apple today? AI. There you go. Is that a shocker? Who's not buying AI? What's AI going to be in 20 years? Ooh. What does $1,000 in AI get you 20 years from now? I promise at least 130,000. So if you can do it in your HSA account, then you're golden. If you can do it with money that they're already giving you, then you're golden. You got stock options, you got a job that allows for that, anything. And if you don't have that, if you got to take a little bit of money aside, and again, I'm not going to say it doesn't take sacrifice and it's easy, but look at it doesn't take a whole lot if you're looking at your balance sheet and you're thinking of your future. You can go on and do your thing, but AI is hot, not going anywhere. We all know it. We know what the companies are, no secret. Some of them are doubling, tripling in months. And I'm not saying you roll dice, you get a good one. Google is easy as the day is long. But correct me if I'm wrong. That's available to all of us for not that much money. You buying lottery tickets? Why not put that money aside? You get $20 here, $30 there, $100 by the end of the month. Buy yourself a share of AI. Instead of the layoff, AI will pay off if you're going to live in this country. That's keeping up with inflation. That's keeping up with our economy. And it changes depending on who in office. Democrats, Republicans, it shifts. So you want to be at least mindful of who's doing what. Question?
What about Bitcoin?
That's another one. See, personally, I missed that one. But yeah, it killed it. For people that were close enough to it, I didn't feel like I was close enough to it to understand it. I dabbed in it, but I didn't really jump in. Some people did really well with it. That's another one. That one's more gamble-like, though. So I don't know what I'd advise it. And again, but that's one of them. It was out there. People knew it. Some people did really well with it. But my point being, what's doing well is not a secret. When I worked for Merrill Lynch, and I was an analyst, I would talk to our analysts. How do y'all know what stock is going to do well? They got all kind of scientific studies, too. One of our top analysts would say, George, go to the mall. Tell me what you see. I'm like, really? He said, go to the mall. Tell me what you see. Went to the mall, looked down. LA Gear was popular with young people. That Callaway was popular. A number of these companies came out. They were brand new and just starting. He said, what are people migrating to? What do people enjoy? What's going on? What are people using? Right now, it's AI. It's not even as scientific as one thinks. What's trending? What do you like? Same concept when you go buy a home. When you go buy a home and you're investing in yourself, you want the house that's most desirable if you can afford it. The most desirable house you can afford in the most desirable neighborhood is the one that other people are going to want, is going to do best. So if you can get in there at a place where you can afford it, that's comfortable for yourself, and don't cheat yourself. You know, people in California, average percentage of their income they pay for housing is 45, 50%. They just used to it because you can't live there unless you do it. Here, lower 30s, high 20s, and we get used to it. So we use the money for something else. If you got to pay 40% early on to help yourself get out of that perpetual impoverished hole that your family is in, that's what you do. Because that's where most of us find ourselves. And again, I adore my family, but that's where they were. And I fought with my mom on a whole bunch of stuff. Even after I started managing money, she still wouldn't do it. Nope, I know better, okay. What we got next? Let's see. Interest rates. Watch the interest rates. Right now they're 6 or 7, which is not horrible. I don't know if we'll ever see 2 again. If they drop below 5, you got a 30-year mortgage. Think about that. And again, don't think about it in isolation. Be intimate with your balance sheet. What does your balance sheet tell you? How are you going to get more of the money that you're spending to go directly toward equity, toward ownership, so when you retire, you can live off of that? That's the goal. What's next world event? This war. And anytime there's a tragedy, there's opportunity. This war there's all kinds of stuff. The market's up today, way up. And and Trump, let's not fool ourselves, he manipulates the market. So as awful as he is, and I don't want to get into people's politics, but the truth is, stock market right now, not a bad place to be because he looks out for himself. He's a selfish. He looks out for his own pocket. His wealth has grown more since he's been president than anything. Well, he makes that happen. Well, can you piggyback on that? Because, you can't get him out. So, there you go. So pay attention. Intimate with your balance sheet, pay attention to what's going on, see what's going on. Okay, invest in your own home, we talked about that. Our largest person, maximize free money. HSA, a lot of organizations have this matching funds on your retirement. Your 403B, you invest $1, they'll give you a quarter. They'll do it up to a certain dollar amount. That's balance sheet, that's equity, that's free money. That's free money. If you're not maximizing that, you're not paying attention. That's free money. And it's free money that's already in the stock market that's hitting record highs. You got to do that. You got to do that. Explore new technologies. We spoke of that earlier. Tax liabilities. Deferred tax liabilities. There's so many things you can do with real estate that helps our tax advantage. How many of you guys watch golf? Anybody watch golf? No golfers in here, okay. I can't use my golf example. Anyway, there's a golf tournament in Georgia, the Masters. It's a big deal. It's in Augusta, Georgia. And that, it's full of rich people, as you probably know. It costs you an arm and a leg just to get a ticket. There's a tax code that's called the Augusta Rule, to where you can rent your house out tax-free if you apply it. So, if you do have a second home, you can live off of it just through the tax advantage of that home. Again, that's how the rich people not pay taxes. Once you do that 7 years, that 15-year loan, you own one property, you could pull money out of that house and buy yourself that second house. Who said they wanted a house in a warm place? You could buy something down in Florida, something nice and cozy, and then you could write off the taxes through the Augusta Rule. That's available. And again, you don't have to be rich, you just have to be knowledgeable. Those are things that are available to you. Loan, capitalize on emerging markets. We talked about that. Include an advisor when you buy and sell investments. And I say that for tax reasons. Question over here.
Okay, and on invest in your home. You all know I can talk like
It's over here.
Okay, for the first dot there, invest in your home.
Yeah.
Do you mean literally, like take the equity, use the equity in your home?
If you have equity, make sure you have equity. When I say invest in your home, make sure you're gaining equity with your payments. You're not just paying interest on your home.
Right.
And that's either the shorter term loan, the 15 to 10 year instead of the 30. So every time you make a payment, you're paying off more of the principal.
Right.
Invest in, so the dollars, you gotta live somewhere. So the dollars you're spending goes right toward equity, goes right to your balance sheet. That's what I mean.
Okay. So,
Paying extra.
yeah, okay.
Paying extra each month.
And we've done that. And then the other thing was, oh shoot, I forgot. Yeah, I think that was it. Well, so is there a problem borrowing against yourself?
I'm
Because you
sorry?
mentioned that earlier, borrowing against yourself.
Yes.
Yes,
Borrow against yourself, I'm thinking after you're retired and you're living off your balance sheet, and you, rather than, if you don't have another income, if you need money, you can borrow it against your assets and not have to pay taxes on it. If you could borrow against your retirement fund. Truth is, like if you borrow against your 401k, you don't have to pay that money back because it's your money.
see, that's what I did that one time.
So that's what I mean, and I can show you how to do that. But you got to have assets. You know, it's asset growth and then assets maintained and then assets usage. If you have assets, it's, significant assets, and you're at the point to where your income has stopped, yeah, you could borrow against your own assets.
Okay, I guess my concern is losing the house. If I use the equity of my home that I'm living in,
Yeah.
I don't want to lose my house.
No, you don't. You don't. So that's, you know, against your home at a bank, that's different. At an investment firm that's holding your assets like your investment funds, your retirement funds, that's just against your own assets. You don't want to borrow against your home and try to do this. You want to borrow against a portfolio of stocks and bonds, if you will. Thank you for asking that, for the clarity. And, you know, and that's when you're starting to, that's when you have money to where you can do these things, and you will if you follow a certain methodology, if you will. Any more questions? Okay, what else we got? Okay, risk. What's at risk and reward? Age sensitive. You know, as you retire, this aggressiveness with your stocks has to slow down. As you're younger, truth is again, 20s, 30s, yeah, 90% should be equity. Because you got time to recover. And in the end, the history tells us it's going to do this. It's going to steadily go up. So at that time, just go for it. Just all in. As you get older, that changes because you don't have the time to recover, as she spoke of earlier. You never want to put your house at risk. But if you have multiple homes, and you will if you follow a certain pattern. Okay, next thing, be careful with life insurance products doubling as investments. You see that often. These life insurance guys will come in here and say, yeah, you can make this on your policy, and da-da. Separate those two. You need life insurance, buy life insurance. You want to do your investments, do your investments. Don't try to combine them. Trust me, you're losing on that deal. And they'll make it sound good. Be careful with that. Get advice on that. Be careful with products that attach to your home as collateral. Really careful with that, especially if you're living in that home. Reverse mortgages, you hear that's popular. Now, you know, that has nothing but taking your equity and putting it in someone else's pocket, and you're living off of it. That means you didn't plan well. Not a bad thing, but if you find yourself in that place, that house one day won't be yours. What if you outlive it? What's the plan then? So be careful with that. I'm not saying don't do it. Be careful with that. HELOCs, same thing. Those HELOCs are attached to your home. If you borrow, they give you all this money. Now you're paying a low payment, but it's attached to your home. And they'll give you a HELOC for a 40-year payback, which is crazy.
Yeah, could you give me a little bit more on be careful with life insurance products doubling as investment products?
Yeah, boy, that's a seminar in and of itself. It is insurance licensing, and they get paid well on life insurance products because they're for a long time. And oftentimes they'll couple They'll say, you buy this life insurance, we'll pay it at you die, and you're earning money on it along the way. You want life insurance or you want investment? I would discourage that, but everybody's situation is different. So maybe in your circumstance at this time it works. I would be very cautious because you can separate the two and do better on your own. You don't have to give up. You got these annuities now where they say, give me $100,000, we'll pay you 5%, we'll do this. You could have gotten the 5%, you could have gotten 4.5% yourself and kept the $100,000. So that's them just combining those products, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have this pension for the rest of my life, so I'm okay. 5% on $100,000 may look good today. 6 years down the road, that's going to look a little low, and you can't increase it because you've already given away the money. You can get 4.5% and invest it yourself. So that's what I mean. So just, and again, I don't want to discourage anything anybody's trying to do because we're all trying to make ends meet. And that mindset is what has us thinking the way we think. Got to get to tomorrow, got to get to next week, got to do, and that's typical of how we were raised. And society feeds on that. Buy this, pay this a month, get this money today, we'll pay you for the rest of your life, we'll pay you 5%. Again, you can get 4% on your own. And keep the $100,000. All right? The reverse mortgage is a big one. That's a conference unto itself. Debt consolidation loans. A lot of people are pushing. You got too much credit card debt. Put it all in one loan. Bang it against your home. You're good. Be careful with that. Still owe the money. You just put your house at risk. And if you're living there, just, your caution is a great one. But be careful what you do, anything with your house. And sometimes these little construction people, they'll come and fix your roof, right? They get you to sign something. They put a lien on your house. You don't even know it. My mom did that. Had some work done in her home. She signed it, $20-some thousand. It was a terrible loan. Had a balloon at the end. She didn't even know about it. And she signed it because it was cheap. Well, George, I can afford the payment. Like, Mama, that's a bad loan. No, I can afford the payment. I can afford the payment. She's focused on the income statement. She's focused on the day-to-day, the month-to-month. She's not looking. I said, well, how much is this? What's it take to pay it back? What's it going to cost you in the end? She never asked the question. So be careful. I'm sure that, if you own your own homes, you've had these construction people knock on your door. So, I'll take care of that. That roof is leaking. I can take care of that. Sign here. Cost you $300 a month. You just signed away your home. Now they have a lien on your home on a loan that's 20-some odd percent that has a balloon. Be careful with that. All right. These are just income sources. This is just something I threw in there. Types of dividend stocks. You got all kind of investments out there. Dividend stocks, bonds, low risk, cash equivalents. I got that in the middle. That's the easiest, safest. Common insurance products that vary, oftentimes double as investments. Be careful with those. Don't be afraid. As we get older, we're a little sheepish to reach out. And you don't know who to trust. And you're afraid that someone is taking advantage of you. And you can't take risk if you don't trust. And you can't amass wealth if you don't take risk. So they're all kind of connected. I recently started this little business. And I did this website. I don't know, God, I'm so in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. So I called Keith. I don't know what I'm doing. And I got all these people advising me, and they're calling me, and they're so helpful for this amount and that amount. I'm like, God, and the first quote I got was $39,000 for this website. I'm like, wow, is that good? Is that good? I don't know. I got another quote for $400. That's the gap. $439,000. I'm like, and I actually thought that 39, like, wow, that's a lot of money, but websites are complex. I don't know how to do this. I can't do it. I got to get some help, right? I'm talking to this lady. She is smooth. She's good. Then I find out someone else, well, I can do it for 400. I'm like, 400? 400? Imagine how I felt. And I'm an educated man. But I was afraid to ask. I didn't want to show ignorance, vulnerability. I was afraid to ask someone, I'll ask my friends. If I don't have someone who knows this, I'm in trouble. I'm at her mercy. So, so you may find yourself in that position. Boy, seek somebody out. Ask. Don't just jump in it. Don't say it's going to be okay. People, it's a dog-eat-dog world. People will take advantage of you. And as you get closer to retirement, that is the targeted population for scams. We should have it written across our foreheads, because that's who they come after. They know you're nervous. You probably got a little bit of savings. You're probably not sure what to do, don't know who to trust. So here they come, and they hit you with that, only gonna cost you $50 a month. Sign here. Well, that's your home. So if I leave you with anything, don't be afraid to ask. Call somebody, and that's the beauty of the church. You're gonna ask someone, can you help me with this? I don't know anything about this. I'm still working through the perils of this business, and it's not something I've ever done. We always had a marketing department when I worked, so I didn't have to do it. And now I'm it. And I'm nervous. I'm afraid. I'm watching my pocket. I don't want to be taken advantage of, but I need someone to do it. So where are we going? That's really all I had. Any questions? Over here.
I have lots of questions, but I know I can't ask them all.
You got time.
Oh, okay. I want to ask about downsizing, because when I see how much it costs to rent, even in senior housing, I might as well stay where I'm at. They do the maintenance, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So I can pay somebody to come in maintenance.
Yeah.
So why downsize?
You may not need to. That's a good way to think about it. You don't. I promise you, I live in way too much house myself. I should downsize from a square footage standpoint, but I got to live somewhere, and I have so much equity. It's almost paid for. So I got to take care of the maintenance. And my neighbors all look at me like I lost my mind. You're in that house by yourself? I got to live somewhere. So be careful with that. Like I said, anything that involves your home, and let's not pretend that homes aren't emotional. You have emotions tied up in your house, I promise you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so when you leave, it's not just the money. How are you going to be in that new place? Is it going to be good for you? And it may be a little better financially, maybe not. Anytime you're looking at renting, you gotta wonder, how much longer are you going to live? How long are you going to rent? You can live another 50 years.
I've
You gonna
rented
rent
long
for 50
enough,
years?
and I'm paying them, and it really, it's a place to stay, but they're making money off of me, so.
That's how the world works. So I
Okay.
would be slow to rent if you have a mortgage that you can afford. If you can afford to stay there and you're okay with it, be careful with that decision, I'll say.
I have concerns from being a senior citizen. It seems like every other week I'm getting a notice that my data has been included in another data breach.
Yeah.
And I am just so uncomfortable with that whole piece.
Yeah.
And then you get a card that says, the settlement and you can sign this and do that, and and I'm just so apprehensive about any of it. So what?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cyber attacks, I don't know that I'm the guy to ask for that, because I'm as nervous as you are. I am, especially about anything that's digital. Most of your major banks will have digital protection, so even if you are scammed and it goes away, they'll put it back. That's one protection you can have, and, frequent changes of your password. Or, slow down all that activity online, all that Instagram and TikTok.
Well,
they
see,
grab.
and I don't do any of those things,
Okay.
because I know that's
Yeah,
a problem.
yeah.
People are always asking me, did you see it on Facebook?
Yeah.
No, I don't hardly do Facebook.
Yeah,
Just-
that doing banking online, ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would encourage that.
Yeah.
I'm old school. I do my banking face to face.
Another thing that I'm really apprehensive about is when you go to the doctors and then they'll have you, you go in for some test and we need to, we need your permission to do whatever. And then they want you to sign that little pad there.
Yeah,
It's like, I really don't feel comfortable signing that little pad. I don't want to seem antagonistic or anything to them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the same time, you could take my signature and put it on my house, whatever.
could.
I don't know what you're going
I
to use
know.
my signature
I
for.
know. I would agree. Like I say, you have, most of your major institutions will have protections like that. I had that same anxiety about property. They say now they have voice recognition. If you say yes over the phone, it could be yes to something, they'll take that and take it
That's
somewhere.
AI.
Exactly. So, I would try to stay with institutions that, and you should ask them that question, how much money is protected, to what are the limit levels? And, if something happens here, where am I not liable, and you'll pick this up for me and understand.
She's the secretary, and that's what they'll say. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm just doing the paperwork.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Well,
any of
talk to
that.
the man, ask the question. It's your money. It's your money. Ask the question. I drive my banking people crazy. I do. I ask. I'm like, I don't want to work my whole life and then one day it's just gone because somebody scammed me out of it because I was too trusting. And by nature, I know that's a problem for me. I'm more trusting than I should be. So I'm nervous, consequently. So I think that's fair. And follow your instincts on that and just ask the question and try to make sure you're protected. Know how much, if it's gone, that they're going to cover so your life savings is just not gone because someone fast talked you out of it. Because they're out there, and boy, they're good. They're good.
Thank you so much for coming. A wealth of information. My question is, I'm concerned about how can we get this information down to our young people, because I don't think it's ever too early
It's
to
not.
start.
It's easier if you start early.
Absolutely.
It is.
And so I'm not suggesting that you go to the schools and give this presentation, but I'm just concerned as to how our young people can take advantage of all of this good information.
Our pastor here, you tell them, the younger, and they, young people think they know it all. I have a daughter. Boy, I fight with her, think she knows it. She's 32, and, she fights me. But the younger you start this, boy, it's, like I say, the things with the HSA and the 403B, those are no-brainers. You do that in your 30s, trust me, by the time you're retired, you're done. You don't have to do anything else. And do that with the housing. You don't have to be a genius to be a millionaire. You got to make good decisions. How do we get it to the young people who, it's hard to get the message to young people. Young people are doing their own thing right now. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I typically don't offer, and I make it, Keith asked me, I'm sitting at home minding my business. So I don't offer because money is sensitive and people don't like talking about it, but I'm happy to do so if they want me to.
I've been working 2 jobs for many years and got sick and had to retire early. Have you heard of Dave Ramsey? And what do you think about his 7 steps?
Dave Ramsey's not bad. That whole 4% rule is not a bad one, but 4% for most of us is not enough to live off of. So, the hard line thing just doesn't work for everybody. I don't mind what he's saying. Rich people can do 4%. You got $1 million, you could probably do 4% plus, your Social Security. If you're short of $1 million, 4% is going to be tough. So that was,
I thought you said 15%.
last I heard, he was a big fan of the 4%. Maybe he's changed it.
Yeah, it's 15%, you know, and let it compound and grow and,
15% to draw out, you mean? That's what I mean.
no, 15%
That you would earn.
that you save.
Yeah, I know about the 50. He's advocating to withdraw 4% of your portfolio. Yeah, live off 4% of what you've amassed. And 4% is tight if you're below $1 million.
Oh, no, I was more talking about, you know, trying to, for your retirement. He was saying if you save 15% of your retirement,
Yeah,
by the time you retire,
yeah, that's great. He's right. He's right. If you can say 15%, I'm trying to show you easy ways to get to that 15%. If you can put aside 50, he's absolutely right. If you can save 15% a year and put it into the stock market, you will be fine. He's absolutely right. So,
Go ahead, Madam, because they've asked. I've asked.
Okay, I just want to ask a question. You were saying about being careful about signing things. Okay, well, I had some work done on my house, and of course I did sign for it, but then I paid it off in less than the 90 days that they were saying paying off it. Are you saying that even with that, they can?
I'm saying if you're going to get a loan against work in your home, go to a credit union, go to the bank. Don't let the people doing the work do the loan. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So if a contractor comes in and says, I'll do it, pay this, say, no, I got a relationship with the credit union. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to get myself a loan, and you're going to separate those two things. That's what I mean. Okay?
My last question is, how beneficial is it to pay off your home when that and returning tithe and offering is your only tax write-off?
Paying off your home, that one you need to sit down with your tax attorney, your tax accountant, and find out. Because it's not always in your best interest, especially if you have a low-interest loan. It may not be in your best interest to pay off your loan. So it's not hard, fast, again, with the Dave Ramsey. Nothing is hard, fast. It depends on where you are in your financial life and what's best for you. So I would say sit down with someone and make that decision that's best for you. Okay? Hey, you guys have been great. Thank you for giving me
Thank
the
you,
time.
George. Let's give George a hearty amen. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. And